Hi everyone, welcome to the Confident Hypnotherapist. I'm Lawrence Akers. I want to start by wishing everyone a great new year. We're days away from 2021 and 2020 has certainly had more than its fair share of challenges. But I want to thank you for supporting this podcast. Certainly if you haven't yet, please subscribe via the YouTube channel or on the Podomatic site. But of course you can continue streaming via iTunes and Spotify if you wish. In this episode, we are chatting with the fantastic Matt Gilbert. Not only is he a fantastic singer and hypnotherapist, amongst many other things, but he's also the creator of the Blueprint Protocol, which is certainly one worth exploring if you haven't as yet. So sit back and enjoy this conversation with the wonderful Matt Gilbert.
Okay, so it's kind of about breaking that cycle of frustration, isn't it?
Yeah.
I remember when I started, I set my stall out from day one. In a nutshell, obviously didn't have any clients, didn't have any experience. I'd probably done the same fairly lousy core training that most of us have done, that we then realise as we move forward barely prepares you for setting your room up, let alone helping anybody. But the thing that I did on day one was I rented my office, didn't have any clients, and I was kind of drifting along thinking, how do I break this cycle? So a little office came up for rent, 200 yards from my house at the time. So I rented it, and I bought a desk, and I bought a chair, and I bought a client chair, and I bought a table, and I bought a plant. Very nice plant. I can't look after plants, it died. Which was kind of the way that was a great metaphor for my whole practice, because the plant was dead long before I got any clients. But what I did, I got up every morning and I walked to my office with my laptop and my phone, and I sat there, no clients, and I sat in my office. It got boring. So
I imagine it would.
So the purpose of it was, though, is to from day one is to start treating my hypnotherapy business as a business. Yeah. having a place of work, having business hours, and getting up every day and subscribing to that self-discipline. So it's Monday morning, you haven't got any clients, you've been sat at your desk for 2 hours without any clients. So anybody's halfway fertile brain will soon turn to, right, what do I need to do to get clients? And then you start shaking the tree, and then you start to get clients. That goes okay. So you start to get recommendations. So that I was, kind of, it might not suit everybody, but I was kind of really brutal with myself when I started. Either run it as a business, or don't do it at all. And that was probably the best decision I made. Otherwise, all these years later, I probably still wouldn't have any clients. I wouldn't have the business that I've got, because I think essentially, I think with a lot of hypnotherapists, there's a disconnect because they want to help people. Yeah, that's great. Brilliant. They can help people. What a wonderful job. We're also running a business. And I think the majority of hypnotherapists don't connect those two things together. So they don't think of their hypnotherapy practice in business terms. So what that does is it breeds that never-ending frustration. It breeds that frustration, and the thing is, they end up kind of drifting around all the Facebook groups, which are also populated by and large with other therapists who haven't got enough clients. So they're not mixing with people who have achieved the success. So they're not learning. So they're not modeling that success. How's he or she doing it? What are they not doing? Let me have a look at their work page. Let me see what ads they're running and that sort of thing. So swimming in that puddle really, of with other people who are not successful, can be the absolute damnation of their own success.
I think there's a flip side to that too. Quite often you'll see on Facebook people who come in and pretty much shout to the heavens about how successful they are. And, I think I don't blame anyone for sharing their success or for, saying how wonderful their job is. But I know there's other people out there, and sometimes myself included, depending on my mood, that sit there and go, man, why aren't I getting that? What's going on? And there's that kind of comparison that happens.
Yeah, which again, if we start subscribing to what everybody else is saying, we're undermining ourselves again. We're going straight back through that loop of being frustrated, of being embarrassed almost that we're not seeing that number of clients, or we haven't developed that niche. We're building that frustration. Also, of course, as I'm sure you've picked up on, lots of those comments that some hypnotherapists make, you can see through them from a mile off.
Yeah, there are some that, obviously are very busy, but I think there's also some that potentially are not very busy.
Yeah.
And it's a bit
the busiest therapists that I know, the very busiest therapists that I know, are not on Facebook telling people how busy they are.
Yeah, they're too busy
because
to do that.
Because they're too busy. They're seeing clients.
Yeah.
Clients, those things that pay the bills. And I think, getting away from, really, you almost have to put that element of industry waffle completely out of your head. And again, it comes back to kind of how I started, which is going your own way and not making those comparisons with other people, because you'll always find somebody who's busier, taller, more handsome, nicer teeth. You could go down that rabbit hole forever. So I think what I would suggest to any hypnotherapist that hasn't got enough clients, the first question is, do you actually want clients? Do you actually want them? Lots of hypnotherapists that haven't got clients aren't doing anything about it because they don't really need to, because their wife's got a really good job, or their husband's got a really good job, or somebody's retirement package has just come through. So they're playing at it, which is, that is absolutely fine. That is fine. But, accept where you want to be in the food chain. And if you want to be a hobbyist, be a hobbyist. If you want to run it as a business, there kind of really isn't anything between the two. You're doing one or the other. And if you're not paying the bills, you've got to get off your backside and shake that tree every single day. That's all I did. Spoke to people. Everybody I met knew that I was a hypnotherapist, and some of them are fascinated, and some of them are scared, and some of them are freaked out, and some of them don't want to look you in the eye. All that cheesy stuff. But ultimately, it led to people getting in my chair. And I think what surprises me over time, looking at how some hypnotherapists are running their business, they're still, after years in practice, they're still on the hamster wheel of needing to acquire clients.
Yeah.
Why? So the question that poses in my limited mind is, by now, why are you not basically surviving on recommendations? What is it that isn't happening?
What is it?
And I think
that's a great question.
What is it that isn't happening? And now there's many things. I think that the biggest thing, excuse me, and again, something that made a massive difference to my practice, is I give the client the remedy for whatever it is they've come for. I also give them an experience. Give them an experience. I finish every session when the change work or the release work or the remedial work or the rewiring, whatever you want to call it, when that's done, I don't you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, open your eyes, go home. That is unspectacular, if that's even a word. It doesn't demonstrate any charisma. It doesn't demonstrate any really interest in the client, if that's all we do. Now, okay, there'll be people watching this who say, yes, Matt, but they're only coming to us to get their anxiety resolved or whatever. Yeah, they are. Give them that remedy, but also give them an experience, something that at the end of that session, there is that unequivocal wow.
Yeah.
That's what gets them talking.
I absolutely agree. You remind me of a good friend of mine, Paul, who was saying to me, well, how do people that come and see you know that they're actually in hypnosis if you're not providing any form of hypnotic phenomena that goes along with that? And it's a really valid question. You know, begins to place a lot more value and worth into knowing some of these hypnotic phenomena that you can do to really reinforce that person is having an experience. And that reinforces the change that you do at the same time.
Yeah, I think lots of hypnotherapists are afraid of that kind of thing.
Absolutely. There's a fear of failure going on.
Fear of failure. Yeah, you've absolutely nailed it. So again, they end up back in that loop where they're actually constructing their own downfall.
Yep.
Their own downfall.
They're expecting failure themselves, and therefore, if they have that belief of failure coming on, that's going to erode their confidence that exists.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to be.
Yeah. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is nothing. That's the worst that can happen. Nobody's going to die. Nobody's going to scream and shout at you. So
it's a fear, though, of people thinking that people are going to leave thinking they're not very good. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's something to do with the ego going on here, that they're afraid that the clients are going to leave and go, well, that was terrible. That wasn't what I expected. And the reality is that everyone's going to have clients like that at some point. I don't think there's anyone who has 100% success in terms of clients going, that was amazing. Yeah.
But you know what? It comes down to understanding your client. And that comes from the fundamental analysis that any hypnotherapist needs to do, which is, who are my clients? Who are they? Am I speaking to them in my posts? Am I speaking to them in my adverts? Have I identified them by income, by demographic, by sex, by location? Most hypnotherapists that I speak to haven't even gone through that. When I ask that question, and I ask it a lot, I say, okay, so Lawrence, who's your ideal client? And the most common answer that I get is, anybody that I can help.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's not. People should not only niche in what they're good at, but niche in something where there is a realistic market and know who that market is. You know, if somebody comes to me and they say, I haven't got any clients, Matt, can you help me out? I say, yeah, no problem at all. Let's look at what you're doing. You know, what is it you do? Well, I want to give foot massages to Mongolian goat herders dressed as a nun on a Thursday between 9 and 1.
How did you know my niche? Man.
I've been on your website.
I thought no one would get that. There's a market out there. I just have to go to Mongolia for it. Yeah.
So, you know, they're setting themselves up for failure. And what I find is you almost can't define for yourself what your niche is. See what clients you're attracting. You'll attract the people that are attracted to you as a therapist. People buy people, and people buy solutions from those people. My clients, I moved to a new city 18 months ago. No clients, no reputation, absolutely zero, absolutely cold. Day one, I identified my clients, my potential client, their age, their sex, their location, and I speak to them in my posts. I set myself out as, you know, professional therapist for professional people. So the people who are not professional people don't inquire. So you know, you've got the starving therapists, if you like, who are saying, yes, Matt, but if I only speak to those people, I won't get the others.
No, it's not how it works. Yeah.
So what? So what? You'll get so many more of the people you want that sacrificing the randoms is not a problem. And then the more of those same type of people that you get through your door, the better you become at working with them. The more you understand them, the more you speak their language. So therapy then becomes really, really easy. So the stress goes out of the therapy, the wondering what's going to walk in your door. You reduce the wild cards. You're able to be consistent. And because you're consistent, what happens to your results? They go up. Your confidence goes up. You know, it doesn't just happen on day one. It's a cycle.
Absolutely. And, you know, as I mentioned to you before, you know, even for me, there's days where my confidence is great and really high. And then there'll be other periods where it kind of dips down a little bit. And I think, well, what do I have to do in this moment to help bring that back up again? And, you know, for me, it might be something as simple as sitting down and watching a session that someone else does and going, yeah, I'm just reminding myself, this is actually a natural process. We can do this.
Yeah.
So,
that's right. Whatever it takes just to
get out of your own way.
To refocus. Whatever it takes to refocus. Because, you know, I got to a point with my practice where I felt like a hamster on a wheel. But then I realized that, hang on, I've actually reached a panacea here. This is great. I don't have to look for clients. The clients just come to me. They recommend me to all their friends because I give them an experience. My clients are ladies who lunch. That's my core client. So if I give them an experience in the hypnotherapy session, they go and meet the girls on Wednesday and they can't wait to tell them. And you know what? They've got plenty of money. They're used to self-care. You know, some of my ladies who lunch, as I bracket them.
I've got Sondheim going through my head now, don't you? So I'm going to ask if anyone wears a hat.
Love it. Yeah, so, you know, they go and meet the girls on a Wednesday, and I've met this fabulous therapist. Oh, have you? I need to go and see him. Yep. And then that's it. You know, my inbox pings, hi, you've helped my friend Susan. She says you're really good. Can I book, please? Yeah, of course you can. And I've become part of their self-care routine. You know, I've got dozens and dozens of regular clients. Now you think, well, what do they keep coming back for? If you haven't resolved, excuse me, haven't you resolved whatever it was? Yes, that's the whole point. They get their resolution in a timely manner. They pay me really, really good money for it, so they appreciate it. And I always say to them, you know what? If you don't just have to come to me because you've got a problem. If you've had a bad week, if you just want that reset button pushing, and if you just want to feel wonderful, my door's always open. And because I've got that kind of inclusive, welcoming attitude to my clients, they just put me in with, you know, buying new shoes, getting their hair done, getting everything waxed, getting a tan, go and see Matt. Great for business. Great for business. And also, you know, when you get into the right demographic, you know, their friends have got money. If you're scraping the barrel for clients, especially at a low cost, you know what? It's client acquisition is harder. You get less money for it. Their friends are broke, so you don't get the recommendations, or you get people who want it for nothing. So again, you're constantly bumping along the bottom of the hypnotherapy industry in terms of income, in terms of success, and in terms of job satisfaction, because it is a job, and I want to enjoy my job. And one of the things that makes me enjoy my job is the fact that I've made it easy for myself. There's a lot better, a lot more charismatic, a lot more skilled hypnotherapists than me out there, but they're not running a business. They haven't decided what they want to do. So, identify your demographic and target them. Facebook is brilliant for that. Brilliant. But again, hypnotherapists, if I had a penny for every hypnotherapist that said to me, "Oh, I've tried Facebook ads, they don't work." Really? What did you do? Well, I came up with an advert and I ran it for 3 days and I spent $20 and didn't get an inquiry, so I turned it off. Honestly, every damn day I hear that. And I'm sat there going, right, did you now? Oh, right, great. So, they don't know how to write ad copy.
Yeah, and that's a very important part of it, yeah.
They don't know how to write ad copy. They don't know how to pair persuasive ad copy with the right image, or they waffle, or they go on and on about what hypnosis is and the history of NLP, and that is all garbage. That is an exercise in how to not. That is the poster child for how to not get clients. Facebook ads have to be brilliant. That's the bottom line. Because when you think we are arriving on somebody's device completely cold, they don't know us, so they don't like us,
well, they don't care about
so they don't trust us, and they may not even realize that they need or would benefit from what we're offering. So you put all that together and you think, wow, how are those ads ever going to work? How am I ever going to get a client when that's what I'm up against? The answer is you need a brilliant ad. They can't just come up with something that they show it to their mum and their mum goes, "Oh, that's lovely. You look lovely in that picture." They're asking the wrong
very
people.
Monty Python, I have to say. So, the mum yelled, "Pink!"
Any women
she gets
here?
nervous too.
Oh, the hypnotherapist is a very naughty boy.
Any hypnotherapists here? No. Yeah, so they're setting themselves up to fail, and they're asking the wrong people. I was talking to a guy a couple of months ago, and I can't remember what on earth he'd called his hypnotherapy practice, but it was absolute twaddle. It didn't say anything about what he did. It was a mishmash of different words that he'd put together that he thought was clever. And he said, can you help me out? I says, yeah, no problem. He says, right, first thing, change that name. 10 minutes later, one of my little spies told me that he'd gone in one of the big hypnotherapy groups on Facebook and said, this is the name of my practice. What do you think? I've just been told it's not very good. And of course, everybody, they're all self-supporting in their need for failure. So, within 10 minutes, there's 30 people telling him, 30 people who are probably also completely failing in business, telling him how great the name of his page is. So he came back to me and gave me both barrels. No, I'm keeping it. I said, fine, I'm not going to work with you. I'm not going to work with you. Simple as that. That's my privilege. Somebody wants to, it's not about people having to do it my way. That isn't it. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to turn out, clones of Matt Gilbert or Matt Gilbert's methods or Matt Gilbert's business. But it's just getting people to look at their business as a business. And this is why they're all miserable. This is why they're all miserable. One of my far too well-worn phrases is don't keep hold. Don't be attached to a bad idea just because you've spent ages making it.
I absolutely agree with that. And it's funny because, even recently, I found my own ego getting involved in something like this where someone had a look at my branding and said, that branding's terrible, you need to be redone. And I immediately found myself saying, well, no, that's not what I want.
Yeah.
But, when you sit back and reflect about it, really, what are you saying there? Are you saying that you feel that, you put too much of yourself into it, or that you're allowing your ego to get involved in it, and that you're afraid to say that, perhaps someone else is right? It's an interesting thing.
Yeah, I think there's a few things there. People have spent, they've spent a lot of money on their bad ideas.
That's true. Yeah.
On their terrible.
They don't want to think it was all for waste.
Yeah, they've spent a lot of money looking to look that bad. So that's one thing. So they've got ownership of it. They hold all these things so close to their heart that when somebody looks at it with a cold eye and says that's not very good, or that's not very businesslike, or you shouldn't post that sort of thing on your work page, etc., they don't like it. But I spent £800 on that branding. Yeah, it's terrible. Oh no, I think I'm going to keep that. Okay, carry on not having clients then. Carry on not attracting people. Carry on posting memes every day with pictures of Buddha and stupid comments.
You forgot
I see
pile
this
of rocks that goes on as well.
That damn pile of rocks. I'd like to throw them in a lake.
No, it's almost like some sort of alien supernatural kind of stacking going on. It's very bizarre.
Yeah, and that doesn't attract clients. They don't look at their business with a business-like cold eye. They haven't asked themselves the really simple fundamental question of, would I buy that?
Yeah.
Would I honestly buy that? Would I be attracted by that?
I don't know anyone who's ever said, I have OCD and anxiety and I need someone who's almost Buddha-like to help me. It just doesn't work that way.
No. And I think the other thing with client retention, recommendations, I think, again, therapists blur the line between the things that they like and what a client is actually coming for. I was talking to somebody the other week, and we were getting clients, and they were not coming back, and I was really scratching my head, couldn't understand this at all. Anyway, I kind of woke up in the middle of the night and I thought, the only thing we haven't looked at is their room. So anyway, the next morning, I went back to sleep. Next morning, I said, look, I can't understand why your clients are not coming back. They'll come once and then not turn up for the second session. I said, what's your room like? Oh, my room's lovely. I always have incense burning when they arrive. And I'm going, whoa, stop.
Yeah, no, that's...
Stop. Honestly, so I said, do me a favor. I said, take a picture of your room, and there's a dream catcher in the window. There's plastic unicorns on the windowsill. There's crystals everywhere. There was a 3 foot tall statue, a plastic statue of a Native American, and all crazy stuff all over the room. And I said that's why they're not coming back. That is why. Oh, but it's lovely, and I always have incense burning, and blah blah. Are they coming to you for all that mumbo jumbo, or are they coming for therapy? They're coming for therapy. So they're coming in, and immediately, because everything isn't neutral, the client then places judgments on that. So even if the therapy was really good, the conversation that they're then having with their friends was, yeah, I went to see Matt. He was very nice, but bit of a weirdo, or bit of a hippie. So their friends say, oh, I'll give it a miss. I'll find somebody else. Bang! You've lost your continuity of business. My therapy room is decorated about as well as your average shipping container in terms of being minimal. Couple of chairs. That's it. No dream catchers, no Native Americans, no plastic Buddhas, no feathers, headdresses, or anything like that. So there isn't anything for people to not like. Do you see what I'm trying to get across? There isn't anything to put clients off. So again, it comes back down to, are you running a business or are you not running a business? If you're running a business, run it like a business. And then, by and large, it takes care of itself. The clients will come. Everybody has a good experience because there isn't anything, including the environment that you're working in, there isn't anything that can possibly detract from what that person experiences, from what happens to that person. Give them an experience, they go away, they tell their friends. I haven't advertised for, well, of course, we've had lockdown, so that's all been very strange, hasn't it?
It's made it challenging, yeah.
But I haven't advertised for, crikey, months, absolutely months. And I get enough clients just on the ladies who lunch coming back to feel good and the people that they recommend. My advertising spend is zero.
Yeah.
My stress related to my business is zero, non-existent. It couldn't be easier. A message just pops up. Hi, can I book? Yes. Simple as that. And they want to pay good money. They don't want cheap therapy. I saw a lot of, I know lockdown has been really challenging for lots of people's businesses. That's, you know, that really has been tough. I really feel for a lot of people who've struggled. But I've seen a lot of people actively killing their business. I'm going to work for half price. You know, I'll do your half price packages. I'll work for $20, $30 or pounds or, you know, a session. Buy one, get one free. I'll do it free for, you know, if you're a key worker, blah, blah, blah. And that has killed, absolutely destroyed people's businesses. So now we've come out the other end and they've got to start that crawl back up again from having destroyed the business. If I said to if I'd taken that approach, that would have put off my core clients. They've got plenty of money. They like to spend good money on good, high quality self-care, no matter what that is. They don't want to go and meet the girls and say, I've found this really cheap therapist. They don't want to say that. They want to say, I found this really good therapist. He's expensive, but he's really good. Yeah. I charge, you know, depending what I'm seeing clients for, I'm often 2 and 3 times more expensive than other therapists in this city. But I'm also the busiest. I'm also the busiest. There was somebody said to me the other month, said, oh, my friend's a therapist in town, and she works in like a little collective, a little commune of different therapists. And she said, yeah, you're really unpopular. So I thought, oh, I must be doing something right. So you're really unpopular. Yeah. I said, oh, thanks. Great. Brilliant. Is it something else said? She said, no. She said, they're not getting any clients. She said, the rumor is that you see more clients on your own than all 6 of them put together. And bear in mind, I'm 2 or 3 times the price of them, or more for some of them. There's some of them not getting any business at £30 a session, because that's where they've pegged themselves. They've pegged themselves as a bargain basement therapist because they've got desperate. I haven't got any clients. I'm going to put my prices down. No, don't. If anything, put your prices up and make sure that you're talking to people with money.
That makes sense.
Money and problems. They need to have problems, but you know, that's who you need to access. You need to position yourself properly in in the marketplace. Otherwise, you know what? It must be exhausting working like that. It must be exhausting not having any clients or not having enough clients. It must be exhausting having sporadic cash flow. You know, people have got bills to pay. They've got the rent to pay. They've got the car to pay. They've got to eat. They've got kids, which are very expensive. So really, why, you know, look at it logically. You've got these obligations. We've all got obligations in life. How are you going to meet those obligations? I need to see clients. Right. What do you need to do to see clients, and who are those clients, and what problems are they going to have? Do you know how to solve those problems? Yes. Right. Start talking. And I know I'm repeating myself. Yep. Start talking to the people who are your ideal client. And then, as I've said, the people that you will lose, they're not the people that you want anyway. Let them go. And this segment that you're nurturing, it will grow exponentially. It'll take care of itself. So don't set yourself up as a therapist. Don't set yourself up for failure. Run your business as a business. Don't bring your personality to your business. You know, when I say personality, I mean, you know, your plastic Buddhas and everything else. Oh, but my clients think it's lovely. Do they?
Do they?
Really? Really? If you ask them, do you want a plastic Buddha? Or
it's part of the intake form. Do you like plastic Buddhas? Yeah.
Yeah. Do you own a dream catcher? So I think that's where, you know, the lack of the confidence. So what is, I suppose, you know, part of the question is, what is the confident therapist? I think that the confident therapist is one who has begun to run their business as a business. They look at it as a dispassionate process. They're not, the business isn't them. The business is a business. Treat it as a business. Stop being, you know, let's say, taking ownership of all the bad ideas and everything just because you spent ages making them. And when the clients start to come, which they will, if you put those building blocks in place, the clients will come. Then you relax. You relax yourself. You know your clients. You know the kind of things they're going to say. You know the kind of things that will resonate with them. You know what kind of other problems they're likely to have that maybe they haven't told you about on day one. For example, if in my demographic, if I advertise, come and see me for alcohol reduction, for argument's sake, I can guarantee that I will not get one single solitary reply. Not one. However, they'll come and see me for something else. And then when they get to know me, again, this is all about, the more you see the same kind of client, the you know what to expect. You know what to expect. So your confidence goes up. Generally, second or third appointment, they'll kind of mention, and I don't know if this is relevant, but I think I might be drinking too much. Really? How much are you drinking? I'm on about 3 bottles a day. Okay. Let's deal with that. You've established trust with them. So then, as you move forward, second session, third session, they'll tell you about why they're really here. And that isn't because I don't ask on day one, you know, what's your diet like and how much do you drink? They can lie through their teeth, and they do. But because I've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of exactly the same sort of clients, you know, these things don't come as a shock. They become a fairly consistent earner. But you can see that you'll never establish that knowledge of your clients if you're not concentrating on a type of client. You'll never go through that learning. You've got to know your clients. You've got to gauge what else might be coming that they might not have told you about, or whatever, or what kind of things are they sensitive to, what kind of things, you know. One of the things I have to consider, of course, with my clients, again, comes back to being consistent. Obviously, you know, their sex, demographic, age. I have to be really conscious of menopause, things like that. Now, nobody's ever, I've never seen any kind of quality training around menopause. It was never mentioned in any of the training that I've done, but it's something that every single woman on the planet, you know, kind of roughly over 40, is either going through or has gone through or is experiencing, and therapists are just blundering on, just blindly with female clients and not understanding them. The only reason I've developed that understanding, again, is because I'm consistently seeing the same sort of client. You learn all about them. So confidence isn't really in question for me. It's not so much being confident with my clients, it's being efficient.
Yeah.
Because I've gone through that learning curve. I'm sensitive to the kind of things that they are experiencing. My knowledge of the things that affect that demographic has increased exponentially. Yeah. Again, you know what? You can't learn everything there is to learn about every person on this planet and see every kind of, you know, from 5-year-olds to 70-year-olds for absolutely any issue you can think of. Those kind of generalists, there's no way you can develop that niche knowledge. And of course, the more you develop that knowledge, the more you resonate, the more you speak their language, the more your ads speak their language, so the more clients you get.
It all makes sense, doesn't it, when you break it down like that? Because you're absolutely right. When you're a generalist, how are you supposed to know all the little things that might make a big difference to your client that might walk through the door? Whereas if you are going to niche, it's going to help you to build that avatar around who your client actually is, what their background might be, what kind of demographic, what kind of approaches you might take as well. But adds a bit of structure to what you're going to offer in the session. And that structure, I think, also helps to provide confidence for people too.
Because if you're trying to speak to everybody, this is something I find myself saying again over and over. If in your desperation for clients, you are trying to speak to everyone, actually, guess what? You're not speaking to anybody. You might as well not bother. In attempting to speak to everybody, you're not speaking anybody's language.
So really, I'm hearing, if you haven't got a niche, get one now. Or as I used to say to someone, if you haven't got an acronym, you need one ASAP. So
God almighty. Yeah.
Got to have dad jokes in your presentation always. Essential. Speaking of that gap in knowledge, you know, we've spoken about having a niche. We've spoken about, you mentioned earlier about having training, and, you know, regardless of the training's good or bad, inevitably there's going to be gaps in that training as well. You're the creator of, you know, the Blueprint content-free protocol. You know, tell us a bit about what this approach does to help provide confidence for the therapist who might learn it.
Fundamentally, it works. That's the thing. It's somebody that we both know described it to me as almost like cheating. The thing is, the blueprint came from my work with very traumatized people. It wasn't one of these cynical things that was developed as a product. I'd used it in various forms in my own practice for the best part of 5 years before I wrote it down and started training people in it. So I needed a way of giving traumatized clients a resolution without them having to talk about it, without them having to tell me about it, because inevitably they've been for talking therapy, they've been referred by their doctor for talking therapy. You know, okay, tell me all about it. They don't want to tell you anything about it. So it was kind of quite tricky coming up with something that where the client gets their resolution, but they don't have to go through that re-traumatization process. And yeah, so they love it. So, you know, I'll a few times a year, I'll get a call. Hi, you've helped my friend Susan. Is it true I don't have to tell you what's happened to me? And I say, yep. Because I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear those horror stories. I've dealt day in, day out for years now with some of the very worst things that human beings can possibly do to each other. And when you've had a string of those clients every single week for however many years, it starts to mess with this if you're not careful. So I needed a way of them releasing whatever the clutter had been superimposed on their subconscious mind. I needed a way to release that so that the symptoms on the front end fell away. So that's where the blueprint came in. We've got, I think there's I don't know, probably knocking on 350 people have done the blueprint training now, either in person or online. So yeah, it's absolutely flying. It tends to be the first thing most therapists use in session one, because it gives you a head start. You know, recognizing that you know, the things that clients bring to us are symptoms of something else. You know, the anxiety isn't real. Anxiety isn't a thing. It's a collection of behaviors being driven by some kind of distortion in the subconscious mind. So get rid of that distortion and the anxiety stops. It comes back to being efficient. I was an engineer before I was a hypnotherapist. So I like things to be predictable.
Yeah.
I like to know that if you put this in that way, you'll get that out the other end. I like things to be predictable, business-like almost, really. So yeah, lots of happy clients, lots of happy therapists. What's not to love?
Yeah, and I know, like, I mean, for those that haven't seen the blueprint training, absolutely go and check it out. I noticed that you gave it a bit of an overhaul recently. To do a bit of a pun, you rebuilt it.
From scratch.
Yeah, it
just needed bringing up to date. You know, when I was an engineer, if the first 30 people that called you when you put a new product into the market, if they all said, I can't find the on switch, you know, that needs to be page 1 of the manual. Here's the on switch. So it's just been, it's all been completely filmed again and recorded from scratch. All the training's online, and it just deals with a few more of the common questions that therapists have, and how to approach different problems, and recognizing that things are symptoms of something. You know, don't treat the thing. If somebody comes in and says, hello, I'm depressed, right, what I don't do is anything to do with depression. Get rid of what's driving that, and the depression goes, or the anxiety goes, or the bad habit goes. And again, you know, it comes back to the more you develop your client model, that avatar as you described it, the more you develop that, and the more you deal with the same problems over and over and over, you get so pinpoint efficient. It's ridiculous.
I think you begin to notice the trends as well, or the reoccurring fractals that happen as well, where you kind of go, right, this is something I'm seeing all the time.
Yeah. So all of the surprises really go out of therapy. So it becomes a nice, relaxed process for you, the therapist. Develop that whatever that client base is. Develop it, nurture it, learn about it, be sensitive to it. But here's a big thing: nobody can do that on day one.
Yeah.
The only way you can gain that kind of in-depth knowledge is by putting yourself out there and making a start. You can do every training course on the planet. And, you know, we all see those therapists who, I'm just going to learn this. I'm not going to start practicing yet.
Always, and, you know, I was a self-professed course junkie, so I put my hand up too, but it almost becomes more about collecting the courses and not really immersing yourself in it and getting what you need out of it.
Yeah. You'll learn more in your first dozen clients. I think you learn more in your first dozen clients, taking them through the therapy life cycle, than you'll learn on any course.
Absolutely.
You develop that sensitivity to them, their way of speaking, their way of interacting with you as a therapist. And of course, you know, you need to be effective, you need to be efficient. And I think lots of therapists they're scared. They want to be this uber brilliant, confident, happy, effective therapist on day one. So they've got this fear, if you like, this incredibly self-limiting fear of, I might not be good enough. Well, unless you get out there, unless you are seeing a number of clients, you're not going to get any better. There's that chicken and egg thing.
Yeah, it's binary, isn't it? It's kind of like I'm either a good therapist or a bad therapist, but it's not I'm a therapist that's learning.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all a journey. It's all a journey. And you know, I don't think we ever stop learning about what we're doing. I work in a completely different way, again, because I've developed my niche and my ideal clients. I've learned so much about those ladies that I work probably in a completely different way to how I worked 18 months ago. But I've had to go through that life cycle. I've had to go through that learning curve, and accepting in myself that I don't know everything. I probably don't know much. Maybe I don't know enough, but I'm learning. I'm not going to do any harm along the way. Nobody's going to die, but I'm learning and I'm improving exponentially over time. So you get better, you get happier, your confidence is high because you're not going into the therapy session with any worries. I know that I've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of that sort of client. So it's, yeah, fine, come in, sit down, let's get it done. There's no flapping going on in here, but I had to start, you know. And if I listen to a recording of a session of mine from a couple of years ago, now a couple of years on, it would probably make my toes curl. It would probably make me cringe. But you know what? You've just got to go through that. You've got to get over that ideal.
It still probably provided a result for whoever it was you were doing the session for at the time. You know, I think it comes back to that ego part I was talking about before, where we want to be good therapists. But, you know, what is a good therapist in the end? You know, yes, it's someone who gets results, but I think it's also someone who can be confident and can be with the client and get out of their own way and just be present to create a space where they can do work with what's being presented in front of them.
Yeah, you're right. Getting out of their own way. Most hypnotherapists are not successful because the biggest block to their success is their attitude. Mm-hmm. Their attitude towards, as I say, running a business, their attitude to holding on to all of these beliefs. I think one of the, if I could say one thing to any therapist is be prepared for the fact that everything you think you know right now, you are going to disprove it at some point in the future. Everything you think you know is wrong. And that will be proven, because you'll look back in 6 months and you'll be working with greater sensitivity, or you'll be working more efficiently, or you'll have worded something so that it's more effective. So, you get greater resonance with your clients, you get better results. It's a growth phase. And this idealized kind of worldview that I think therapists are really good at adopting, that this has got to be perfect. This has got to be perfect.
That binary thinking again.
Yeah. Whatever, that's fine. But what I'd say is, instead of going looking for that perfection that you will never, ever, ever, ever find, just accept that, well, how much do I know? Well, today I know this much. Great. That's where you start there. Yeah, but Matt, I've got... No. Do you want to start working now? You're qualified. You've done every course out there. You've been mentored. You've got somebody helping with your business. You're blah, 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 blah. You've got all those things. What is stopping you seeing clients? That initial fear. I used to, well, still do sometimes, in my spare time, play in rock bands. Nobody... The first time you're going to go on stage, nobody just goes, yeah, fine, I'm not going to bat an eyelid. You're on your hands and knees backstage, throwing up with nerves.
Yes.
Yeah, you're on your hands and knees throwing up with nerves the first time. But by the time you've done it 100 times, it's just another night out. But you've got to start. You've got to start.
The interesting thing with that metaphor there is that, I'm sure you've been to rock concerts with some big artists, and inevitably you go to one where the artist stuffs up a start of a song.
Yeah.
Or, I remember going to see Bette Midler years ago, and it was the start of the encore, and it didn't go to plan, and she went, right, stop. Everyone back in places. People pay good money for this. Go back to the start of the number, please. Go back, right, everyone back, right. Audience, you didn't see this. And it was like wonderful to see an artist of that caliber who wasn't fazed by the mistake, who just got on with it.
Aerosmith famously, they were on tour, and they'd been playing the same 18 songs in the same order, all tour. Anyway, they decided that the night before, of course, it was those days when they were all as high as kites. And they decided to change the order of the set list. So the song that they'd normally play last was the first song. So they went on stage as high as kites. Steven Tyler sang the first song that for the other 30 tour dates had been the last song. He sung it and said, "Good night, Rio, you've been a wonderful audience," and walked off the stage.
But he could pass that off as a joke. I saw U2 once in Melbourne, and Edge at the very end of the show went, "Good night, Sydney." I'm pretty sure that was a joke. However, George Michael had said, "Come on, Sydney," twice during his Melbourne concert. And then came out of the encore and said, "Oh, I was talking to my friend Sydney, who's in the front row." You could feel the audience going,
"Jesus,
you know what?
That's lame.
We're not really buying that, George. We know about you and what you like to do." But I should let you go, Matt. But before I do, if people want to check out the blueprint, where can they check that out?
Go to contentfreetherapy.com. It's all there.
Delivers what it says on the box. So thank you so much for your time this morning. For you. It's been an absolute pleasure to be able to talk to you. And to get your insight. You presented such a different side again to what some other people have. And it's been fascinating to be able to talk to you.
Great stuff. Thank you, buddy. I'll speak to you soon.
Take care.
Okay.